So tell us a little bit about how your families, because are you cousins?
Mm-hmm.
So tell us how your families got involved in citrus in Florida, and go from there.
Well, it probably all started when our grandfather, my grandfather, your great-grandfather,
Right, yeah.
right, John, was born in Italy in what is it,
It's on here somewhere.
1861, I'm pretty sure. Felix. 1876, I'm sorry, 1876.
Okay.
In a small island called Salina off the island of Sicily. And he was one of 6 children. But the story I've always heard was that the one industry they had on this little island was growing grapes for wine. And they had some kind of disaster. It was a bug got it or whatever it was, and the island was really crippled. So they decided they would take the boys that were old enough to go off and work and send them off so they could work places and send money back.
Okay.
And Felix Dalbora was my grandfather, and he was a twin with his brother was Peter, and he was sent to this country. Felix was sent to the U.S. and Peter was sent to Australia. So there's a whole branch of the family in Australia.
Wow.
And they were supposed to send money back. And my sister has been to that little island. She travels a lot. And there's a monument in the middle of town to the boys that went off to send money back. Now, we can't guarantee how much money Felix sent back, but, but he had an older brother, Bartholomew, and Bart he was born in 65, so he was 11 years older than Felix. And he had already gotten to New York and had started a company. He was an agent, a receiver of produce. And in those days, because of transportation, most of it was coming from California. So that's what he did. And then Felix joined him.
Okay.
But Bart died fairly early. He died in 1917.
Yeah, so.
In 1917. So then Felix took over. It was B. Dalbora Company. And after 17, it was F. Dalbora Company. And I can remember not as a child, but much younger, they still had the auction in New York City. And
Right.
the produce would come in, say from Florida, they'd come in on refrigerated freight cars. And they come into New Jersey, put them on a barge, and bring it across the Hudson to the docks in New York City and unload it. And every morning early, 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, they'd have an auction. And this was before all the supermarkets had sales departments and 800 numbers and call up and just order what they want. And so most of the buyers were either Italian or Jewish. And it was really interesting to go there. You'd think if there was something they really wanted, you'd think they were going to kill each other.
Start another war.
They'd jump up and down in their seats, and you're on the docks in New York City. It's there being unloaded. I mean, they're in warehouse stuff, but at the end of the docks. So that was always an interesting trip to go up there. And
Now, when did you first go up to the auctions?
I was probably a teenager. When first I'd go up.
And were you already in fruit down here at that point?
My father, the progression is Felix did the auction thing, and then he got to the point where when we got our transportation, we got railed into Florida.
Right.
Then he started dealing with Florida growers too and packers, and he got to be good at it and was fairly large in it. And so he got to the point where he would advance money in the summertime to some of the growers and packers in Florida because that's when they're making their crop and nobody had any money then anyway.
Right.
And so then that would kind of tie them together so that he would be their representative. And he did that over the years, but then in the late 20s, when Florida had their bust,
Their bust.
he ended up with Acme Fruit Company in Florida because they couldn't pay their debt back.
And Acme was cocoa?
Acme had there were three packing houses. There was one in Cocoa, there was one in Mims, and one in the center part of the state
Yeah.
someplace.
Somewhere over in the middle. We haven't figured out where yet.
Yeah, I'm not sure. They got rid of that one right away.
Okay.
And then they had the one in Mims and the one in Cocoa. And eventually moved everything to Cocoa.
So Felix was still alive then?
Felix was still alive then, right? He died in 32.
Okay.
And so John's father came to, well, your
Grandfather.
grandfather.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And what was your grandfather? Well, John Dalbora.
He was senior. He was
Senior.
Dalbora senior.
Okay.
So tell him about Jack.
That's his nickname is Jack?
Well, yeah, he had a multitude of nicknames, but they called him Jack.
John, he was John V.
Well, there was so many John Dalboras running around that, an old story I always remember, the secretary in the office, somebody calling on the phone, and they'd ask for John Dalbora. Well, she'd go, you want the real old one, the middle-aged one, or the real young one? And that would just confuse them no end, but it finally worked out, so. But he was the one that really got things going.
Yeah,
And-
actually, he came down, I think he came down in the late 20s.
And from where?
New York.
Yeah.
From New York?
Yeah.
Everything originated from New York. We were
Okay.
just like the tourists.
And they were all out on Long Island, really. And
I guess that didn't qualify, I'm sorry. We'll make them mad.
but Felix sent Jack down here to run the Florida operation. And he lived when he first came down, he lived in Indian River City, which was an separate place, but it's part of Titusville now.
Yeah,
Okay.
Suburb.
And I don't know if this is relevant or not, but I think in 1929, when an Italian Catholic came to Indian
Yeah.
River City, the Klan visited him a couple of times.
Oh, my.
They
And,
didn't like us.
And that's when they consolidated to Cocoa,
Okay.
put everything in Cocoa. And I was telling Brenda too that the house next door is the house he built.
Yeah, that was my grandfather's house.
Okay, and this Jack, so great-grandfather is Jack?
No, grandfather's Jack.
Grandfather's Jack.
Great-grandfather's Felix.
Felix.
That was Felix, okay. So how did, so your grandmother was married to your grandfather, is that what you said? They were
No,
sisters?
no.
My,
Yes.
Tell me,
no, my
Yeah.
mother was Felix's daughter.
okay.
Or senior sister, however you want to look at it.
And what are we doing now? We're in Cocoa, everybody's in Cocoa now. And this is about 29, I guess, when they sent Jack down here to run Acme Fruit Company.
Okay,
And my mother and father got married in 35, and then they were sent down also. So
Okay.
my folks came down in 35 and worked for Dalbor Company. Dad was the bookkeeper. And Dad, in the early 50s, John's grandfather decided he'd take over the Groves, and Dad bought a Blue Goose house that was in Cocoa and started Sullivan Packing Company.
okay. So now you still had Dalbora Packing?
No,
And
they got
Sullivan
out of the
Packing?
We
packing
got,
company
You just
for a
went to the
while, we
Groves?
got out, then for some mysterious reason, we got back in again.
back in Vero.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, it was Vero, but,
that
for
didn't,
Wabasso.
Wabasso.
that didn't last long either, did it?
Well, we built two packing houses. One was United, which was Orchid Island Fruit,
Okay,
and there was 4 other families in the group.
That's right.
And we had our own sales company and stuff like that.
Now, were you involved with the Graves then? Wasn't Graves Orchid Island fruit?
Oh, that was just us. Now, we had used Graves to pack, but
Okay.
when we couldn't get in our own packing house. But we built another packing house in Fort Pierce.
And which one is that now?
It's empty. It's just a derelict sitting there.
Where was it?
It was at the corner of Indy Road and US 1.
Oh, okay. Wow, I know right where that is.
Yeah, you go by it all the time, but it's just falling apart. Is all it's doing. So it's
And that was, what was the name of that place? I thought they,
Consolidated Indian River Packers.
yeah, but
Okay.
before that, there was somebody there, a small,
That was
Operation.
George Close's dad.
okay.
The old building out front was his packing house. I mean, it was old.
George who?
Close.
I didn't know him.
I'm not real sure. I know George. In fact, I can't tell you if he's still around or not. But we bought that packing house, and we actually ran it for a year. It ran in the small boxes, which was a royal. Pallets said we didn't have pallets in those days, but they were just coming into vogue. And then we built the building behind it in the early '70s. And then that was the newer, more modern packing house.
Okay.
And the old building out front just became offices and stuff.
And how long were you there?
That's probably a good question. I suppose, I don't know, 10 years?
Not, it wasn't long,
No.
it seemed like, yeah, you didn't stay in there long.
Well, there's a lot of history behind why we're not there anymore. And, it was one of those things like, some of the partners we had spent more time comparing cannery grapefruit to fresh grapefruit and forgot their investment in the packing house. And so I was growing fruit all day and begging for fruit all night. So, to run the packing house, so that was my baptism
Challenging.
by fire.
Yeah.
And we started with our packing house in Cocoa, probably in '52. And,
Now, did you buy that from Pioneer?
no, this was a Blue Goose. We
Blue
bought
Goose,
it from
okay.
Blue Goose. It was an old Blue Goose house. They had run it and closed it that year, and Dad bought it. And we ran that house, went through sales. We were associated with Deerfield.
Okay.
Deerfield was doing the sales in those days. And we ran that till 1959 when it burned down. And there's some history there too.
Let's
There
hear
used to be
it.
there used to be 5 houses, packing houses in Cocoa.
Okay.
And this was before '95. The US 1 came right through downtown
Downtown
Cocoa.
Cocoa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the railroad, the spur coming off the railroad to service the packing houses went right through US 1, the middle of US 1. And there was a Nevins, J.J. Parrish had a house,
Right.
and they had just consolidated that to Titusville.
To Titusville? Mm-hmm.
And then it came to the Dalbar House, which wasn't running anymore. Then it went down to Merritt Island Exchange Packers had a house. And then it came down to our house at the end. And Nevins had consolidated, Dalbar had closed. Portier had a packing house there, but theirs was not on the line, but they would bring their fruit up to the spur line. The Exchange Packers consolidated with Exchange Packers in Oak Hill, Mims.
In Mims, okay.
In Mims. And so we were the only packing house left. And the city in '59 came to Dad and said, we gotta get rid of that train. And they had the services, and we were at the end of town. I mean, we were the last one.
At the end of the tracks.
The end of the track. And Dad finally made an agreement with the city. They would give us 1 more year to pack, and then we'd leave. And they were gonna give us $125,000 to do that. Well, that was more money than we'd seen in one spot forever. So that was good. Well, July 4th, 1959, the packing house burned down.
Oh, no.
and we had a firebug in town. They had burned us down. There was a cold storage plant across the track from us that burned that down. Tried to burn 2 or 3 other things. Anyway, about 10 years later, they found a firebug out in Texas. And they went back in his history, and he was worked out at Patrick Air Force Base during the time that we had all our fires, and they just couldn't prove anything, but they assumed that it might have been him.
So you didn't get the
So we didn't get any.
125,000?
No,
So
Oh
the
my
city
gosh.
said, it's too bad, we're not gonna give you a permit to rebuild.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I think we got $25,000 out of the deal, but that was only after going to court. So anyway,
Yeah.
so that year, actually, it was into the season now, Deerfield packed our fruit down at Fort Pierce.
Okay.
And then we bought the Whaley property, the Whaley packing house, the Victory Groves. That's how the Victory Groves came from.
Okay.
And that was down on US 1.
And is that that's gone now too, right?
That's gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, everything's gone. There's you can't buy a bag of fruit in Brevard County anymore.
Yeah.
Well, then, and you guys had the Cape Canaveral groves, right?
Well, yeah, they were on what is now part of the Space Center.
Yes. So
But
tell
then we
us-
had goes off,
Yeah,
just off the Space
at
Center
Brooks
too.
Grove, yeah.
But
Yeah.
tell us that story, because I thought that was interesting, the way they took that.
The government stealing our groves.
Yeah, that one.
That was really sad.
That
There
was.
Yeah.
not-
Yeah,
There was 9,000 acres of the best citrus in the world
Yeah, it
inside NASA.
inside, yep.
And they leased it back the first couple of years to the original owners.
Yeah,
And then they grouped it into 250 acre blocks and leased it to anybody. We had close to 800 acres up there when they finally pulled the plug on everything. And it was really sad, because you
Yeah.
know, it was just as close to Orchid Island as you could get. It was really
it was great
the
for,
old kind of old land that you can't replace anymore.
And there's no groves there now at all?
No groves, no. They decided they only wanted native plants on government soil, and we only came over in the 1400s that didn't qualify. So now they got a bunch of dead trees up there that the birds have deposited Brazilian peppers underneath.
yeah, the Brazilian pepper
They're
growing.
certainly not native. But it
Oh my
really
gosh.
wasn't.
That's when we moved, we started planting in St. Lucie County.
Okay.
And, because we were already on Orchid Island, and then we had groves up here on Merritt Island that were outside of the boundaries of the Space Center. So we could keep it, now,
Now it's all houses.
now it's houses, yeah. But, and so is, the Island Grove still, is houses too, you'd be amazed. And,
Well, look at Central Florida. I mean,
Yeah.
that's-
That's what bothers me, is that once
Progress.
we ever find a solution to all the bugs and things we got that's devastated the industry, there's not gonna be any land left to put it on.
yeah.
right. I know I always get asked the question, well, is the citrus industry going down because they're selling all their property for real estate? I said, well, no, that's not why, but, you know, they've had to.
But it's,
as-
the bugs have made it so that, you know, if you wanna make a living, you gotta sell
Right.
the real estate.
You gotta be a bug killer.
So anyway, that's,
So now you were president of the Gift Fruit Shippers Association, right? And did you guys ever sell gift fruit?
Yeah, we had a private order, list, but it wasn't anything like what Frank had or anything like. In fact, my mother was the one that looked after it mostly, I guess, for a while. But it was, I don't even remember how we got into it.
just because of people.
Nobody wanted to tell them, no, we weren't gonna ship it, so
Yeah,
we.
Customers, you know,
Yeah.
family and customers and,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, but
yeah.
But-
we just did it out of
Right.
boredom.
But now, so you bought Victory Sullivan Packing House, and that was already shipping gift fruit?
Right, mostly gift fruit is what they did, yeah.
You had told me a story about a Whaley, I guess, and about how they used to have to ship it by boat or something. Can you recount what I'm talking about?
Yeah, well, you have a letter in there, and some of that stuff I gave you, I think it's it's dated the late 1800s, I believe. But anyway, what they used to do, the only way to, transportation they had was the Indian River,
Right.
and they'd load it on a boat here, and that would take it to Jacksonville, and put it on a steamship to take it to the northern markets. And that was before we had the rail here. And one of those letters you'll have in there is from Mr. Whaley to Mr. Turnbull. Turnbull Hammock is his old name up here, and they came down in the 1800s. And Mr. Turnbull was going to clear a piece of ground for Mr. Whaley, and I think it was 3 acres or something like that in North Merritt Island, and it was just a jungle. and the deal was, and it's a real interesting letter, that you have it's the party of the first part and the party of the second part. You know, it was all written like that by Mr. Whaley. And he was going to trade his launch to Mr. Turnbull for clearing those palmettos and the pine trees and everything off this land. And that was the launch that he used to use to take the fruit out to the riverboat. And he traded him that launch, and if he didn't want the launch, he'd pay him $75 for clearing the land. You wouldn't, the mosquitoes would carry you across that land.
Yeah. You didn't want to go out there after sundown, that's for sure.
So, yeah, so that was the transportation in those days. And if we talk about Porsche too, I mean, that really,
Well, and he's in the Hall of Fame too, so Porsche
yeah,
is.
Porsche is in the
Yeah.
Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
But he came down here and started, and I don't know whether you want to get into that now with this.
No, let's wait, we'll do that in front of the
Okay, yeah,
house,
I'll tell you.
so.
But anyway, he was the first one that, actually, Flagler brought the railroad to Rockledge in 1892.
Wow.
So that suddenly, and it stopped here. And so that just really opened this area up for, we could be in New York in 3 days now instead of 2 weeks.
Nice.
So that really did change the industry.
Now, did he have a hotel here like he did in Palm Beach, or
He,
They popped
Flagler-
up all over.
all over? That's what I thought.
well, he got as far as Rockledge.
Yeah.
And, you know, where Orange Avenue is, there used to be, and on the river, there were a couple of nice old hotels.
Mm-hmm.
So when Flagler got to Rockledge, he put a spur down, this what's called Orange Avenue, to those 2 hotels, because the wealthy people coming down with their private cars could just pull their rail cars in behind the hotels.
Oh, wow.
And, it was going real well, so he decided he wanted to buy one of those hotels, and they wouldn't sell it to him. Nobody would sell it to him. So that's when he went on to Palm Beach and built the breakers.
Okay.
And then one weekend, after he decided he couldn't get a hotel, he sent a crew in. It was a 4th of July or some long holiday weekend. Sent a crew in here, took the track up.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh, are you kidding me?
So they couldn't get to those hotels anymore.
They were ruthless.
They were pretty ruthless back
yeah.
then, and he had the money to do it, so. Oh, my gosh.
Yep, they were ruthless.
So now, when you guys got down here, your great-grandfather was doing the packing houses, and then the split came where you went to more growing citrus?
Yeah, we ended up in the growing end of the thing. And we did start building packing houses again, but the last one we had, we tore it down before it either fell down or burnt down. And, which was actually it was company offices too. And it was, I don't know, there was a multitude of things we used it for, but it wasn't packing fruit.
And then later on, after Mr. A.B. Michael died,
Right.
Joe Michael took over the sales and everything, and I don't know exactly what happened there, but what ended up was that Sullivan Pack Company, Hogan Brothers, United, which was a new packing house with
What?
that family,
The Riles
Riles family, the
Alan
Riles
Riles?
were in
Alan
that,
Riles, yeah.
yeah.
And then, well, there was,
and Graves Brothers,
yeah, and,
and there were 5
Yeah.
in there. Who did I leave out? Packers of Indian River.
Package of Indian River, the Vickers family in Sebastian was part of United.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I forgot, because they all had fruit. That was, and it would all qualify as
Good fruit.
good fruit. So,
And so then we started Indian River Citrus Sales.
Okay.
I don't remember what year that was.
We built, I'm trying to remember when we built United, back in the early sixties, I think. And I think
United-
Citrus Sales came along about the same time.
And this was
Because-
down in Vero or Fort
Yeah,
Pierre?
no,
Vero?
this is, actually it's
Wabasca.
Wabasca.
Wabasca, okay.
Because there was once, when A.B. Michael died, my grandfather and A.B. were great, but after that, too much friction started up, and everybody was rubbing everybody the wrong way. And so that's what brought us, we got together one day and said, we're gonna go build our own packing house. And that's what we did.
Well, that was United
And
then.
that was United, right?
Okay.
So the Kennedy family was
And you
there.
had all kinds of different families in there too.
Oh, God, it was,
Not a lot of branches on that tree or what?
well, I'll tell you, it didn't go straight up, but it was very interesting. It really was.
Well, I'm actually meeting with Ann Michael in 2 weeks, so that's Joe's
She's
widow.
great.
She's like
Yeah.
90-something.
Yeah.
She fell and fractured her hip, so she's been rehabbing, so. But she has quite a few stories, and of course AB is in the Hall of Fame too.
Yep.
And she actually has a big picture of him crowning the Citrus Queen one year.
And when we get into this Porsche thing, AB and Porsche, and there was one other, there were three of them that really controlled everything, because Porsche controlled so much of the market at the other end, because we had the rail long before everybody else did.
Okay.
And he became, he was the first co-op in Florida, Porsche. He started I'm trying to get the right name of it now, the Indian River Lake Worth Pineapple Orange Growers Co-op.
Huh.
That's close to what it was anyway. And he was the agent for it. And so he and AB were close. And there was I want to say it was a Commander. Remember the old
CC
Commander?
Commander?
There was a Commander
There
Grove.
was
Yeah.
It might have been the third one. I don't know who the third. It might have been Commander though. If you know that
CC
name.
Commander, I think
Okay.
was his name.
But I know AB and Porsche were together, and the story is they were going to New York on the train to work whatever they do at that end. They got to South Carolina and the thing blew up. They all got off the train. Porsche got the Deerfield brand. AB got the Deerfield packing house. And I don't know what the third guy got.
Well, was the other one Graves? It had to be Graves, because Graves don't they have Deerfield
No,
now?
it was Graves.
No?
Graves, I don't think
No,
Graves
it
was even
wasn't.
around in those.
Oh, he might have been around.
No, they
They've
were
been
around.
a
Mhm.
long time, yeah.
Mhm.
I don't know who the third one was, but for some reason, Commander has come up, and I don't know whether it was him or not. But, and to this day, Deerfield Groves doesn't have the Deerfield brand.
Really?
Yeah. The Deer One was their brand.
Well, who has it?
Actually, Brooks Humphreys, who bought the property up here, ended up with the brand also, and has done nothing with it. I don't know what.
He doesn't have any fruit to put on
what's
the
going
brand.
in. That's, there isn't really a Porsche Groves anymore. I mean, it's all
Right.
real estate now. But that's a story that kind of brings everything together too. Yeah, it's a small group in those days, and even in our days, it just kept shifting around from one
Yeah.
outfit to the next. But Indian River Citrus Sales lasted a long time and I mean, we would shift the presidency amongst the owners. I got to go to Japan several times.
The presidency of
Indian River
United?
Citrus Sales.
Citrus Sales,
Yeah,
okay.
Citrus Sales. And we sold a lot of fruit, did a lot of good things.
When was the first time they shipped citrus to Japan, do you know?
Probably in
Mid-80s, early 80s.
I went over in '81, and it was
It was done
people
then.
done way before
the,
then.
yeah, before. I
Like
know
your
we
dad
shipped-
went over on a couple of trips.
Yeah, I know.
I know we shipped some out of Canaveral even.
Yeah.
back in the day when Tropicana had a fruit processing,
Juice,
Juice plant, right.
over in
Yeah.
Canaveral. They would juice the fruit, extract the water from it, and you'd have just the solids frozen.
Right.
And he had a special ship that he would take it to somewhere in New Jersey and reconstitute it.
I remember all the trains. There was a couple articles
yeah,
I've
the
seen.
Great White Train.
the Great White Trains,
I still see it
mhm.
running, I don't know, but they got it, because they've closed the Fort Pierce plant. So
Right.
Yeah.
they're
And
just-
of course, this one closed when he
Oh,
got so big, when
yeah.
Mr.,
Anthony.
what's his
Why am
name?
I drawing a blank on
Who,
his name?
Tropicana?
Tropicana.
Rossi?
Rossi, yeah.
Rossi, yeah.
Yep.
I can remember going over there because we used to deliver fruit to him and waiting on checks.
Oh, yeah.
Dad would
This
send
is
me
in
over-
Bradenton or up in
Dad would send me over there to
Get the check.
just to get a check.
Yeah.
You'd have to wait a while, but eventually get the check.
Yeah, he was quite an individual.
Anthony Rossi?
Uh,
Anthony Rossi?
Yeah. I met it when they dedicated the plant in Fort Pierce.
Mm-hmm.
Dad and I went to the dedication, and I had a chance to talk to him. He and my grandfather were old Italian buddies, and it was amazing. Some of the stories and stuff was like, oh, don't tell me that. Hell, I may have to testify.
Like what story?
They're long gone. I mean, it was, you know, people. It's amazing how if you wonder why the stock market jumps around. Well, pound solids prices jump just like that because a couple guys that start meeting somewhere. So, you know, made life interesting.
Now, your dad was a citrus commissioner. Was your grandfather a commissioner as well? No, just your dad?
He didn't have any use for politics, I don't think. But yeah, no, Dad was the politician. He did this St. John's wherever water board and
Right.
I don't know, mutual and everything.
Well, and that would have been in where, the 70s?
Yeah, I guess in early '80s, something like that too. It ran on for a while.
I ran on for a while, yeah, he was bouncing around a good bit.
Yeah,
He was on all the boards,
yeah.
University of Florida or something.
Yeah, he did something for the University of Florida too. I know he set up, there's a scholarship or two up there, but I don't know, I don't, it's not on my list of things to do, so. I keep my head down.
Well, now, in terms of, so you would have been doing all the production, the grow production and things at that time. So what were some of the problems that you faced, and what were some of the innovations that came through while you were working with the groves at that point?
You know, it was pretty much straightforward. I actually learned how to grow citrus by doing it and asking questions, because I was a business major. So, you know, I could figure out, I could be a part-time bean counter, but I didn't really know what to spray on the trees. But it was self-taught, and we had a marvelous extension service, and all you had to do is have enough sense to ask questions. And the guys would just bend over backwards for you. And I can remember, one story I always tell, I sat on the planning committee for the Indian River Citrus Seminar back in the day where it was 2 days and it moved all up and down the coast and all
Right.
that kind of stuff. Well, we would meet out at the Citrus League office, and the guys from Gainesville would come down, to the research scientists and stuff, and they'd talk us into putting them on the agenda. And so I'll never forget, I was young and dumb back in those days, and so I was sitting there at the table, and it came to my time, and somebody said, "John, what do you think?" And I said, "I tell you what," I said, "I think any fool can grow citrus, but how can you pay your bills? And we're not teaching that. All we're doing is teaching production. Well, all the PhDs got all upset at me and said, "Oh, you can't do that." I said, "Okay, you asked me, there's my opinion." And so I got thrown off of it after that. But I really was very serious. I said, you can grow a nice crop. You can read a book and grow a nice crop. That was in those days. Now, it's not now. But how do you market it? Where do you go with it? Who do you sell it to? And, you know, it just was, nobody was pointing them in the right direction.
And at that particular time, we had overproduction happening, so you really needed the marketing,
Because
right?
all of my grower friends, all they wanted to do was sit in the seat of a tractor and sniff diesel fumes and just go. They didn't really want to go out and market the crop, and that's where these packing houses came in. And then they would take them and shellac them once or twice and then market the crop.
And that's why you saw so many of the larger growers joining in a packing house, because they knew that they had to make some money too, and the packing houses were making the money and the grower didn't think they were getting all their money. So that's why you saw so much, and that's how Indian River citrus sales was such a good deal, because
It was, yeah.
owned by packing houses that were owned by growers.
So go ahead and start. You said the change in the industry here, well, let me see.
Well, the change in the industry that we've seen, I mean, heck, I'm 85 years old and started when I was, when I could, 12, just working, but it dramatically changed. First, it used to be the growers and the packing houses, and then the growers started getting into the packing business. And that was a good change, and we started to see more cooperation, I guess, is what you we're still competitors, but you're working for the same end, and a profitable end is what we're working for, and especially in the gift group business. I mean, that's when everybody did the same thing at the same time, and even though you were working for the same customer, trying to find the same customer, once you got the customer, then it was all cooperative after that.
Now, so the Florida Citrus Exchange, that's where the exchange houses were first, right? They were in Tampa, and then when they moved over here, it became Sealed Sweet.
Yeah.
Yes. Now, so was that?
I don't know why that kind of broke up. They probably controlled half the fruit in the state at one time. And I don't know why it didn't continue. I mean, I can't remember some of the names. Don Lynn's.
Don Lynn's is the one I
was
knew.
in that.
John T. Leslie actually
Right.
was the
Leslie,
father of it, I guess, but, I think, and of course, they built a beautiful building in Vero as a sales office, and it's just sitting there now, but there's no fruit.
Yeah. Well, they went into more other
Yeah,
produce
they
and
were trying to
stuff.
sell
But they
everything
really
else.
did come apart, I think, before the industry started having problems.
Yeah, well, I guess some of the owners started rattling sabers or something, I don't know.
I don't know what happened,
I
why
knew
it came apart.
I never had anything to do with Seal Sweet because it was always a competitor. I cussed them a lot, but I didn't pay any attention to what they were doing. Other than, I lost how much to Seal Sweet today? And, or something in selling, because they'd go out and undercut us, and here we go again, so.
But you sold your fruit through that Indian River Produce Sales?
Yeah, the
Citrus
citrus
sales.
sales.
Citrus
yeah.
sales, Indian River Citrus Sales?
But once citrus sales ceased to exist,
And when was that?
oh God, Frank, when was it? We were out of it.
You were out of it by
It
then.
kept going a good number of
Yeah,
years
we
afterwards.
went, I was going places in the 80s.
Yeah,
Maybe 90s, I don't know. I don't know why that came up.
well, we started losing Orchid Island fruit,
Yeah.
for
most of
one
that-
thing.
After the Cape took it?
Yeah,
After the government took it,
the
that's probably
Cape
when it
Canaveral
started.
debacle, then they all wanted to start buying Orchid Island property, which is where Windsor is now, and Orchid Island,
$100,000 an acre.
oh boy.
Yeah.
So, and so you lost your volume. And once as everybody always put it, once you crossed US 1 and headed west, all the fruit's the same. It's just yellow. And
But it was still Indian River fruit in those days.
I know,
It's
but
still-
it wouldn't fit into, of course, and the auctions died out, which is basically what the island fruit was built on.
Okay.
The Orchid Island fruit was not commercial fruit, it was higher class. I mean, your steamer lines bought it, and your hotels, fancy
And it
hotels
was,
bought
and then it
it.
got to be exported too.
And then
We
the
shipped a lot to
Japanese,
Japan.
Japanese went nuts over it. I'll
Oh,
never
good.
forget, who was that guy? Uh, He was a caretaker for one of the big guys. He used to live in Cocoa, and anyway.
Japanese?
No, he was taking care of
Oh,
grubs. He was a
okay.
caretaker, but he had some connection with somebody that had some Orchid Island fruit. And the Japanese hired him, took him to Japan and tried to replicate the land.
In Japan?
Yeah,
In
in
Japan,
Japan,
that they
yeah.
had in Orchid Island.
We used to, I took trees, dug them up off of Orchid Island, and we had a grove out west of Winter Beach. And I transplant them out there, just to see what it would do, and it never could get it to,
Well, what was
You
the
got the
soil?
trees growing, you just didn't get that same
no, you couldn't get the same kind of
quality.
fruit. So,
I used to say you could take an Orchid Island grapefruit and hold it to a light bulb and count the seeds inside. Really, it was this,
his skin was that thin, yeah.
Wow.
that transplant.
But we did it, we grew it on Merritt Island that way.
It still wasn't as good as,
Well, you
it
know.
wasn't the same, it wasn't the same as Orchid,
But-
that land over there, just,
It's fresh air, sunshine, and ocean air.
It must
That's
be,
what salt will do for your growth.
yeah, the trees didn't look as good
No.
as, I mean, the trees would not be as big and healthy as you'd find inland, but the fruit was unbelievable.
it had to be the salt air, I guess,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
And the ground under, it,
Yeah.
whatever
It
the
was-
soil was, the shale or whatever's under
It
that.
was all kind of, nobody could ever figure it out, but we finally quit after a while and just kept growing fruit.
I'm surprised that IFAS didn't do the soil samples and try to recreate that.
I had drugged several IFAS guys from Fort Pierce when they finally opened the station down there. I got curious, I go, what made, and I'd drag a PhD up there, and he'd dig around and crawl around on his hands and knees, and finally throw his hands up in the air and say, no. So I said, okay, never mind. So
Yeah, there's no way to replicate that in the state.
That's a shame.
Yeah,
now,
it is a shame.
now it grows a nice polo field.
I haven't been there yet, so
But you have to
I'll have to look
go
that.
see what Windsor's doing.
Yeah.
It'll scare you to death. Oh, God.
Yes, we had a meeting just a couple of weeks ago at the Ocean Grill, and so I came up A1A
Yeah.
to get back and
It's a-
changed
Wall to wall
It's amazing.
housing developments.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's amazing.
$1 million houses everywhere.
Yeah.
But that's,
But,
that's what happened to the industry, really, a lot of it, but the bugs that we have now, that's what,
the bugs have got us.
that's
yeah.
what, that's what.
Well, the greening, yeah, that
The
definitely,
greening,
that,
yeah.
that's,
Yeah,
that, I
the
mean,
grading.
the difference since that began, the last, what, 10, 15
And the sad
years.
thing, even though, we just got out of the gift fruit business, but even as of last year, only 70% of our fruit was coming from Florida that we were using in gift fruit.
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Now, did the gift fruit business start dying down? Because, I mean, I know it was, people up north kind of grew up, that's the only way they could get citrus.
It was, everybody that had, when I was growing up, if you had 20 acres, you were in the gift fruit business.
Oh,
I mean, you had a fruit stand. You had a fruit stand. And today, it's just, if you're not big, you're not gonna be able to put it together, because even the Florida gift fruit shippers are no longer in existence. So now you've got the 2 or 3 big guys that have the volume enough. They've picked up all the little guys.
Right. That's
And they've
Harry
got
and
the-
David and Hale?
Hmm?
Does Harry and David, don't they have like Cushman's now?
Oh, no, Cushman ended up, I don't know, they had Harry and David, but still, they started their own packing, and I think it's still all part of Southern Fulfillment now, which is Hale.
Hale, okay.
Yeah, I think it's all there now. And that's what, they now have their own fumigation chamber. I mean, we used to pack on certain days when we could get in this fumigation chamber in the state. They have their own fumigation chamber.
Wow.
They have their own trucking system. I mean, that's how big very couple of them have gotten, because all the little guys just couldn't do it as a little guy anymore.
Right. So now where are how many big ones are left and where are they located?
Well, you got Southern in Vero, you got, and a few others down there in Vero still.
They're leaving in a hurry.
Yeah, they're not doing much. But then you got in Polk County, Dundee. They're doing a good job. Last thing I read, that when they finish with their latest program of putting screening over groves,
Right,
that they will have 1,000 acres
1,000
under
acres,
screen.
yeah, I think Lindsay said that, yeah.
Yeah. And there's beautiful fruit coming out of there. I saw, you don't see, if you see a 40-size grapefruit in the grocery store, it's a big piece of fruit now. And some 36s, but not many. Well, I was in the store the other day and they had 18s. I mean, they were in a little sleeve. There were 3 of them in the sleeve. I don't know what they cost, but it was ridiculous.
Yeah.
And we were talking about that, and Peter Terrace said that had to come out of screening.
Well, I know that Quentin grows the pomelos. The big ones, I mean, they're
Yeah.
huge,
Because
Yeah.
North Florida, South Georgia is getting big in pomelos.
are they?
Yeah.
I mean, I know I see him at all the different
Among
shows
other
with that,
places.
Yeah.
yeah.
I hear there's there's close to 7,000 acres up there now.
Yeah.
Georgia, Florida.
The fly doesn't seem to bother them, so,
Too cold for it up there.
Well, it's all, and most of it's Satsumas, but
well, Satsumas too, yeah.
Yeah,
a couple of years ago, I was at a meeting at Lake Alfred, and the guy who was head of the Georgia, Florida Citrus Growers Association, whatever it is, brought juice down to their juice plants in Chipley, Florida.
oh my gosh, can you imagine?
A juice plant in Chipley.
And he brought we all got a little thing of juice. It was good.
Yeah.
It was good. So, I don't know how long that'll last, but,
Was it all Florida juice?
Hmm?
Was it all, like, wasn't anything
Yeah.
mixed like Brazil or Mexico, or?
no, it was
It was
all their juice.
their
all
juice,
Georgia,
okay.
Florida
Georgia,
juice.
Florida, yeah.
Got a friend in Savannah that he lives out on the coast. He's got navels and grapefruit, and he brings fruit down to me every once in a while. His navels are as good as anything we ever
Yeah.
grew on Merritt Island.
Yeah.
Wow,
And he sent me pictures of snow covered on the trees.
that's crazy.
Damn.
So, and he doesn't have greening. I mean, he wanted to bring a couple of years ago, no, 10 years ago, he wanted to bring some more trees up. I said, no, you don't mess with trees out of Florida. You stick with what you got.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
you'll get something you don't want.
Wow. So, so let me back to you on some of the things that you guys did with Acme, because I know I saw some of the ads and stuff that you had where it was,
When we were exporting it.
well, when you're shipping it all over the state, when your grandfather was shipping it,
Yeah.
because he would do a lot of in the Jewish newspapers and everything. So I thought that was kind of interesting.
I guess that was probably part of the auction program too. So. But yeah, anybody want to pay for it, they'd sell it. But that was our primary label. I mean, we had,
That was Acme?
if you noticed, we had a multitude of them. Everybody, every day somebody'd get up and make a new name. So, you know, it was like,
Kept the label Acme label, but then Acme Fruit Company became all those different other
yeah,
packing houses.
Okay.
Yeah. I think Acme Fruit Company, I never remember that as a company. I mean, it was JVD Company.
yeah, because Acme, if I remember right, Acme was merged into what was now JVD Company. And
But you kept the brand.
Yeah, we kept the brands, yeah.
And you had what? Southern Sun was another one.
Southern Sun, and somebody came up with a Acme spelled backwards, which is IMCA.
That was for
There's a-
interior. That was for interior.
Yeah,
Fruit.
we needed.
Oh, you're
we
kidding.
needed we needed an interior brand, so somebody came up with it, and,
Did we ever figure out what Acme stood for?
no,
No, I don't think so.
except Acme stores used to get excited about it, but,
I always wondered what it stood for. So
I don't know, I couldn't tell you where it even came from, to be honest with you.
Acme brand came from Acme Fruit Company.
Is that
because
what it was?
That's what Felix took over, was the
Yeah.
Acme Fruit Company. and they got rid of the packing name but kept the label.
Kept the brand. Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
But you didn't know what the Acme stood for?
I don't know.
No, I don't know that it stands for anything other than Acme.
Well, I always start saying, oh, is it American Consolidated, da 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 da, or
No,
what? I don't know.
We've
Yeah.
got some labels in here that, on the walls too. You need to go look at our family room.
Yeah,
I'll definitely look at that
Yeah.
before we leave, for sure.
he's the label guru of the family, so
Oh.
all the rest of us threw him away. Every time we moved, I throw him away.
And I've got some more labels in that new box for you. in
Oh,
there,
good,
too.
thank you. So,
So,
tell us some of the names and the people that were really prominent back in the early part of the industry here that you remember.
well, we had the Cristofulis and, the Italian bunch over there, Fenari's. There was a group of Italians that came down. And, but there weren't really, not like the Riles and people like that in Vero. I mean, they just didn't get to be that kind of growers. They were small growers and good growers, but you just didn't have the large acreage up here that they had when you went further south.
Okay.
As I say, of that 9,000 acres inside NASA, it probably had 25 owners.
Yeah.
Or maybe more, who knows, but there were a bunch of 20 acres here and 50 acres there.
That was the original dooryard citrus kind of stuff.
Okay.
Everybody just kind of,
And everybody had 20 acres, had a
Yeah.
fruit stand.
yeah. They put a lot of kids through school with 20 acres.
I remember that day when you could do that.
Yeah, yeah.
But now back to that 9,000 acres, was it 9,000 you said? Didn't they do eminent domain to get that from you?
Oh, God, yeah, we ended up in court over it and all kind
We
of.
fought it, but the government didn't get anywhere.
You didn't get anything, yeah. Because I forgot, would we lose 500 or 600 acres or something like that up there between various owners that we looked after? But
Yeah.
it was, and some of the best juice oranges you ever want to see in your life. Oh, God.
Just good fruit.
Uh,
The Whaleys had probably 600 acres
Yeah,
up there
that
too.
was-
you know, 'cause that was their basis for the backing for everything, yeah.
Okay.
The irony of it, when we finally leased it back, which I've yet to figure that one out, but okay, because I was just getting started, and so everybody had a security clearance, had a badge, and
You should see trying to get a picking
yeah,
crew.
take a picking crew.
Oh my gosh.
And I told one of the guardsmen, I said, you don't wanna know what these people did. Just don't ask. FBI doesn't need to do, just, cause they wanted to run background checks on all these fruit pickers. And I said, oh,
Yeah, we
no.
finally got around that.
Yeah, we got around it.
That
Boy.
was just at the beginning,
It was,
yeah, I got to be real friendly with the badging people up there.
yeah, yeah. They were, once they figured out what we were trying to do, they were great,
Yeah,
but,
I'll never forget, we got married, I even got a wedding gift from one.
Oh, you're kidding?
We got to be that close.
Oh my
The
gosh.
girls up there, we were good friends with the girls behind the desk.
yeah.
The ladies, I should, they weren't, they were girls.
Once the government bought it, the wildlife just stood on top of each other, because you couldn't control them. And we had grows just the hogs up there were big enough to put saddles on and ride them. And we finally got permission to trap them. Now, being federal property, you had to live trap them. You couldn't kill them till you got them off the property. And that made life even more interesting.
I'm sure.
We were in the hog business for a while.
And then you could sell them to people like, we used to do a lot of work with the Mormon Ranch.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Mhm.
And they would trap their hogs too and raise them up and then sell them to hunting places around the
Yep.
around
Yep.
the country.
Yeah.
So we had a place with the hogs then. And the Mormon Ranch, we used to get a lot of fruit off the Mormon Ranch, and they don't have a tree left out there.
No,
Really?
it's a shame.
They got hit by greening
And
too?
they haven't developed, it's just, they got stayed in the cattle business,
They
forgot
figure
about citrus.
cattle live longer.
Right, yeah.
And when citrus started having all the problems they had, but, that was always an interesting dealing with them up there,
I'm sure.
yeah.
Now, what about the Indian River Citrus League? I know, do you remember when that started or how that came about? And do you remember Buck Buckaloo?
Yeah, Buck, in fact, I can remember Dad and probably your dad were influential in getting him that job. He was a banker here. He worked for
Yeah,
Barnett
and-
Bank
Yeah,
here. And, who was, I don't remember who he was replacing. But anyway, Buck, in fact, Roby Buckaloo just passed away, his
Yeah.
son.
his
just-
son.
Oh, really?
Just a couple of weeks,
He was
a couple of months ago.
relatively old too.
I'm wondering if they have any mementos or anything that we could get from them, because he probably
The
had a lot of
Citrus
stuff.
League? You're
Yeah,
talking
well,
about-
no, Buck Buckaloo, because he's in the Hall of
I don't
Fame.
even know where
Roby,
Roby's
yeah.
wife would,
Buck died and they closed down in Indian River County and he moved back to Brevard County. He was a CPA here for all his life. I don't know that he had any memorabilia. I don't know. His wife is still, I can check, but I don't think so.
Yeah, I'd like to find out for
Yeah.
sure. Because I did come across a story somewhere where when Buck retired, they threw a big party for him and gave him a car.
yeah, yeah.
So,
He was a grand old man, he really was. He was one of the first guys I ever met when I moved down there, and he really was, what a nice guy.
Yeah. I mean, just an old friend that, as I say, Dad, and I'm sure your dad, and several
Well, there's-
others helped get him that job.
In the league, I can't remember whether it was formed before World War II or after, because there's a, I don't know where the picture is now, there's a black and white picture used to hang on the wall down there in the office that had the whole board of directors.
okay.
And my grandfather was sitting in it then. And I don't know when that was. I don't.
Because he really got out of the packing business before we got in the packing business.
Yeah. Well, see, the league, they opened it up to, it started out as all Packers, if I remember right. And then some of us growers go, hey, wait, whoa, what do we get? And because we were contributing, the growers were contributing money too. And so then all of a sudden, the growers got into it. And next thing you know, growers and Packers are sitting there arguing with each other. But it was fun.
So what are some of your most memorable moments in the industry?
I can remember back in the 80s when it was freezing so much. I had been out in the groves down in St. Lucie County all night. And I came back up and in State Road 60, I stopped at the league office. Because I was going to touch base with Doug and see who else was getting shellacked. And there was a TV station sitting right there at the front door. And the guy stuck a microphone in my face. I said, get that out of my face. And I looked like crap because, hell, I'd been out all night. We'd had the hell froze out of us. Excuse me. And, it was really a bad night. And I said, the TV's not the one I want to talk to. So, and then I know one year they came back and wanted to film on Orchid Island because we inherently said, no, there's no damage, everything's great, buy some more, eat it. And so one TV station came over from Orlando. They said, we want to film you cutting grapefruit after a freeze. I went, oh, you do? So we took off down the middle, and I pulled out my grapefruit knife, and first one I whacked, and I went, no, stop, cut, wait a minute, we get start over again. We shot that scene about half a dozen times so I could finally cut a piece of fruit. It
That wasn't frozen?
wasn't frozen. So, I don't know, but it was always fun. I mean, it was one year, we hosted the Miss USA contest, remember that?
Yes,
And
in Lakeland.
well, yeah, but we had them in the groves. We had those.
Oh, did you? I didn't know.
We put them up ladders. We did all. It was funny, but those poor little girls, they come out of Midwest somewhere or something like that, sweet as they could be, and they go, "You want us to climb up there? What are you talking about?"
That was when you still had the 30-foot ladders?
Yeah. Well, no, we had started cutting the trees. I did. I started cutting them down, cause it was, when you couldn't reach the top of the 30-foot ladder, it was time to do something. Because the fruit was just no good up, you couldn't get it, so.
There was one block up on North Merritt Island, it was the old Edea Estate, they called it. And we always picked it. They had their own ladders, because nobody else had ladders long enough. They had
Yeah,
old seedling orange trees.
So they were big ones, yeah.
And they had their own ladders that you used when you sent a picture crew up there, and it was, you needed a parachute.
Yeah, it was a long ways down, it really was.
But really, growing up in this industry, it was interesting. We worked hard. You had disasters, but you had good years. It was a great way to. It was a great growing up for me.
Me too,
Anyway,
I
it was
wouldn't
great.
have changed it
Yeah.
for anything,
And you're not getting it today.
no.
Not getting it today.
No.
We worked hard and made some money, lost some money. It was freezes up here were disastrous. The 80s up here. We had 17 degrees on North
Yeah,
Merritt
it
Island
Oh, my gosh.
in '89, Christmas of '89. It was just terrible. But anyway, you dealt with it and you lived it. I mean, it was a lifestyle. I mean, you could make it what you wanted to make it. We did good things, met a lot of interesting, smart people. Did things like going to Japan. I'll never
Yeah.
forget the trips to Japan and dealing with those people. That was an education in itself. One
Yes, it
time we went over. We had one customer, Mr. Fuji, and I guess I can tell these stories now.
He's probably not,
And
probably not around anymore.
no, he isn't. But and he was our main customer. And of course, we went through a exporter in California, and this exporter was real close to Fuji. In fact, it was he was even considered almost part of the family when their nephew got married. Jack, whatever his name was even in the part of the wedding.
Oh, my.
So that's kind of the relationship everybody had. Well, we went over and we gave Mr. Fuji everything he wanted for the next year. It was usually in the springtime you go over and talk about next year. Gave him whatever volume he wanted. And we still had some good Japanese quality grapefruit. So we stayed over a week and sold the rest of ours to Del Monte. and we'd been back a week, and Jack called and said, Fuji just found out you sold fruit under a different label and everything else. You know. And he said, he wants to meet. And we'd just gotten back from Japan. And he says, okay. He says, I'm worried about him. We're liable to lose him. He's really mad. And so he wants to meet in Hawaii next weekend. Okay. So, and we were having what we called a packing house party. It was a fundraiser for the museum here. And it was a big fundraiser, and we opened the packing house up, and we had barbecue, and instead of the juice bar, we had a regular bar. And that was on Saturday night. We were supposed to leave for Hawaii Sunday morning. Well, Sunday morning before we left, our sales manager and a couple others were already in California. It was easier to break that trip up. And he said, Fuji just called him, there's a storm and they can't get out of Japan. So I said, what are you gonna do? So well, we're going to go to Las Vegas. And
There you go.
I
Salvage
said, fine.
this
So we
trip.
canceled our tickets to fly out. Fortunately, we were glad to. And after lunch, they called from they weren't in California, but they were in they were gambling.
Vegas.
And they said, Fuji just called, he's in Hawaii, he wants to know where we are.
Oh, no.
So we get on a plane, flew all night, we get there. And so the next morning, we were in hotels there right on Waikiki Beach. The pink little hotel that used to be there, I can't remember the name, Hawaiian something, one of the old ones. And we had a suite, and so we got set up for the meeting with Fuji. Well, he had 5 of his customers with him. And so we had to get chairs, and each customer, depends on how good a customer he was, how good a chair he got. And so, you know, one guy had a big chair with an arm guy, and I think the last guy might have had a folding chair, I'm not sure. But what he was doing, he was coming in to show his customers how he was gonna beat us up for what we did. Because we weren't honest with him, and we gave him everything he wanted, but, so he always had a little attractive Japanese girl with him as a translator.
Right.
And I know a couple of times we said something and she said, I don't think I ought to translate that. It's pretty mad. And he just went on and on and on. And in our deal we made for him, he already knew we were gonna raise him 50 cents a carton. And so we let him beat us up, and we just listened to him, and it went on and on for hours. And finally we said, all right, we're gonna give you a quarter discount. Already knew we were gonna raise him 50 cents.
Right.
And we're gonna write you a letter saying we'll never do this again, and you can give it to all your customers and all that. And this was a trip that Jeanette went with me. She was the only female that had gone. A lot of times wives would do on some of these trips.
Right.
And so when we got finished, Dick Dozier was our sales manager, and it was his birthday. And so Fuji said, okay, it's all over, now we have a party.
Yep.
And he gave a birthday party, brought a doll for Jeanette. And
Oh, my.
I mean, that's just the way they operated.
They're amazing.
But, and I don't know whether we should record this next part.
Yes.
And in Japan, they all worked all week till Saturday at noon. And they'd have apartments in Tokyo.
Right.
But their families would be outside where they had, you know, room to build nice houses and things like that. And so they would go home usually on Saturday at noon and come back Monday morning. And they all had girlfriends, it seems like. And that was all part of the deal. I know they had wives out and families out in the country. And Fuji had one heir. He was Yoshi. He was a nephew. He'd sent him to California, to Stanford, to be educated. He worked for Sunkist for a year or 2.
Was he a big, tall guy?
Be what?
How was he a real tall guy?
No, they were no small.
There were 1 or 2 that I've met that were really tall. I just can't remember the name.
Most of them.
Yeah, but Fuji, this Yoshi was the nephew, and Fuji had Dolomite Mines someplace in a resort someplace in one of the islands, and he had a helicopter company. I mean, it was a big operation, and Yoshi was the heir to all. Well, Yoshi decided he liked his girlfriend better than his wife.
Uh-oh.
You didn't mention his name again. His office was locked and closed. He was gone.
Oh,
And
my.
you didn't dare mention his name. You didn't say, what happened to Yoshi?
Don't
You got
ask.
the word. You got the word before you got there.
Wow.
I mean, that's
It's taboo over there.
yeah, that's the way they lived. I mean, they were.
We used to make our guys come to Florida. And
And they were probably fine with that.
well, yeah, I mean, we'd put them up in like the Holiday Inn in Vero, you know, on the beach. And the first thing, they plan this whole thing out, because there's like 4 or 5 people. One of them speaks English. Well, the rest of them just sit there like, but they understand English. If you told them all to drop dead, they know exactly what you said. And so all they wanted to do was, let's go to the strip joints. I said, what? She said, yeah, we want to go to, I said, oh my God. So a couple of us.
Didn't have those in Vero now.
No, we had to go to Fort Pierce. And so we hauled them down there, and I thought we were going to end up in jail. I really did. Oh my God. And the next day I talked to Dan. I said, we got to get the prices settled before we all end up in jail. What are you talking about? I said, no, I told him. He said, oh my God. Okay. And so we'd sit there and negotiate, and, you know, got it all worked out. And we were dealing with All Nippon Airways. And so, you know, they were really I still got, I guess the guys are probably gone by now, but I found their cards one time and I went, oh my God, I remember him. And, but they came over with, and smoke, oh my God, they looked like the world was on fire. And they smoked, the damn Japanese cigarettes would take paint off the wall. I mean, it was.
They were strong. I just found my business card with my Japanese stuff on it when I went over there for the Department of Citrus.
Yeah, but they were a lot of fun, but we were glad to take them to the airport.
We never had to entertain them here. We always went over there and got entertained.
Yeah,
It was-
no, we returned the favor. And, we were afraid, my son, my oldest son, when he was selling for Duda, he went over, and I'm gonna laugh, because his boss went with him, and I was 2 or 3 of them. And I asked his boss one day, I said, well, how was John in Japan? He said, he'll want to stay out all night and you can't get him up in the morning. And I said, okay, that's why he's not working for me too, so. Well.
But those are the kind of experiences that really
Yeah, they were.
formed our lives and
Yeah.
Right.
are the good things that you can remember.
Now, did you ship fruit out on what is it, the Dixie, out of Fort Pierce? What was it called, the Dixie?
The boat,
The boat, Sunbelt Dixie.
we didn't use, every once in a while if there was room and somebody needed fruit, we would, but not on a regular basis. It all went to
Went up to Jacksonville. or
Jacksonville, Savannah.
No.
Some once in a while you get.
Brunswick.
Brunswick.
Every once in a while you get one out of here,
Yeah.
but that was we tried to get them more out of here.
More out, yeah, because it was a quick ride then,
Yeah.
instead of dragging it all the way to Georgia.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's
absolutely.
when they were going, they started using a lot of containers too. You know, everybody liked that, and it was like, oh, God, you know. You get a parking lot full of containers that you all gotta load, you gotta load all of them, it's like, jeepers creepers.
Okay, well, I appreciate it. You guys have anything else you want to?
You had enough?
No, but I know I want to make it palatable for people who are viewing it online.
You know, the
Yep.
other thing that was another interesting thing, when Ocean Spray Cranberries bought
Oh, I forgot about that, yeah.
the grapefruit plant down there in Vero.
The packing house?
No, the
Oh,
plant, the
the
juice plant.
yeah,
Juice plant.
yeah.
That was, for some reason, I got put on that board too, so got to go to see cranberries being
The bogs,
grown.
where
and-
you
Yeah,
scrape them
well,
off the
we all
top,
went
yeah.
together, that was a great trip.
Yeah,
And,
yeah, remember that? Yeah.
yep, that was a lot of fun.
And interesting people. It was
Yeah, they were,
a good
yeah.
place to put grapefruit too.
Oh, it was.
They were doing a good job on it. Yeah.
But they're not here anymore, are they?
No,
No, no.
No,
So,
But
that was an Hawaiian trip too. They had a
I didn't get-
board meeting in
Hawaii?
Hawaii.
I didn't get to Hawaii, Middleborough was
As far as
enough.
you got?
Massachusetts was enough. But, you know, it was a lot of fun. In fact, I go to cardiac exercise class every day, and one of the guys in there is an ex-Ocean Spray muckety muck from up north somewhere.
Yeah, they like Vero Beach, yeah, they
Yeah,
liked it
yeah.
then.
And I'll never forget, I thought they were great people, but I was sat on an advisory committee out at the juice plant, and they said, we want to buy a packing house. And I said, you want to do what? And I said, you could go to any packing house in this town, and they would gladly run your fruit, and you don't have to own anything but the box and the fruit. Oh, no, we want to own the thing. And that's when they bought George Lambeth's packing house at Winter Beach. And
Okay.
I said, you guys are nuts.
George was happy.
Oh, God, George is even happier now. They got rid of the second one, too. But,
Yeah, I forgot they bought his place, yeah.
yeah, and now it's all gone. The Greens had sold it, and Barney Green's family ended up with it, and they ran it for a while.
Yeah, they read it.
And then I had to laugh one day, I went by there, and all the equipment was piled up in the back. They just cleaned everything out, took torches, cut it all up to where you could haul it off, and they sold it. It's some kind of warehouse or something now.
Wow.
It's just like United, they cleaned the United out, and it belongs to Waste Management. There's garbage trucks all over the place up there.
Oh, my gosh.
So,
So is that the Golden River, or was that the other one? The
that, yeah, it was Golden River,
Mhm.
yeah. And then the other one they built out west of town, that was right near Ocean Spray. Lambeth went out and bought this, or built this huge packing house. Oh my God.
That was the state-of-the-art one, right?
Oh, yeah, we were state of the art. They threw away so damn much fruit, it was pitiful.
Oh,
But
And money.
and money, yeah.
everybody but the grower. And it was, I used to fuss, I loved George to death. And he had, Fred Van Antwerp was the packing house manager. And Fred looked at me one day and he says, you know, he said, worst thing in the world is a grower that owned a packing house. And I said, yeah, and I can tell exactly what you're doing to me. Now, don't clean it out. I'm not putting any more fruit in here. I said, yeah, you people. I had 15 loads of fruit sitting in the coloring room, and I said, let them, we'll dump them in the parking lot. I said, shoot. And then Seal Sweet was the problem, actually. But Seal Sweet, one of their little henchmen come stomping around. Oh, you got to grade down some more. And I said, grade down? He said, hey, you're throwing away more of it now than anything. And oh God, I used to just go nuts. They used to try and pack at night so I wouldn't come by, and I go, oh no.
Fun days.
It really, you know, you had to laugh, because you walked out the door and said, okay, we got it solved. Which actually reminded me of the days when I was a kid. I'd ride with my grandfather, and he'd go down to Wabasca and meet with A.B. Michaels. Well, the two of them would go round and around and around and around. And A.B., and I'd sit there going, damn, these old goats are really going to it. And he kept an oxygen tank in his, I shouldn't be telling a story, but in his office. And so all of a sudden he'd go, hold up a minute, Jack. So he'd get up and go sit on the couch a minute, turn this gigantic bottle of oxygen on, and he'd just sit there and breathe oxygen for a few minutes. Then he'd jump up, shut it off, say, okay, let's go again. And they'd go again. And then
my
they'd all
gosh.
turn around and go out to eat that night. They never left each other mad.
Well, that's a good way to be.
Yeah. And so, and it was fun. I sat there and went, oh my God. You know, so
And those are the good times to be in the industry too.
Yes.
And
it
those
was,
days,
yeah, yeah,
Good times
it
to be
was,
there.
yeah.
Everybody
But-
was doing the same thing, and you were competing, but it's still you
We're
were
still
all
friends.
working together
Yeah.
too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It was fun. You know, you get to deal with really some neat people, and, you know, that are a lot more prosperous than you are, but, oh, who cares? And, so, people look at me and go, well, don't you want to go back into business? No, I don't even want a key to the gate. Because I said, I am not smart enough to do what these guys, I'm smart enough to piss away, $3,000 an acre every year trying to grow something, but I'm just simply not smart enough anymore to try and grow a crop like these poor guys are trying to grow now. And I said, and the biggest thing I miss are the people.
Yes.
I don't care about the trees. The nurseries are full of them, but the people, I miss the people. The people were the backbone of the whole
Yeah.
thing.
And they're not there anymore. Now
No.
you've got the big corporate
Yeah, now you got the bean counters.
enterprises. You used to deal with the 20 acres and the 50 acres, and
They wouldn't even talk to you with 50 acres.
Yeah.
but it's not there anymore.
It's a shame. But
Well, I appreciate you guys at least sitting down with me to give some insight as to what it was like back in the day.
What you're
I don't- yeah.
you're gonna get, how you're gonna use all this.
Do we get a preview?
No. I'll tell you when it's up on the
We didn't know, I
website.
didn't really say that.
We're gonna get phone calls going, what the hell are you doing? They'll be talking about us, Frank.